Yeah, you see the sweater, you know what's happening. Hi everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Aaliyah Falabi and I'm going to be an incoming medical student at Pitt School of Medicine this fall. Like, you know, I had to wear this sweater for the video because honestly, I'm about to make medical school my whole personality. I'm gonna have so much school spirit. I'm gonna be so annoying. I have been getting lots of questions on Instagram, comments, DMs, asking me just a lot of questions about my medical school application. I did a Q&A on my Instagram, so if you're not following my Instagram, go follow my Instagram. And I just had you all ask me a bunch of questions, any questions you wanted me to answer in this video. So we're gonna go through those questions. Before we start the video, I just wanna preface this by saying this video has no way, shape, or form associated with my school, okay? This channel is just all about me. This is my beliefs. These are things I think. So when I answer your questions, if you disagree with my answer, if it's wrong, I wanna apologize in advance. I also wanna say that take everything that I say with a grain of salt. You can take the advice if you want to. If you don't want to take the advice, that is fine. I always tell people, research, do your own research, and also, once again, never believe like someone's word like on the internet. Like, take everything you see on the internet with a grain of salt. So just a little intro because we do have a lot of new faces here. My name's Aaliyah. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I am Nigerian American and I graduated in 2020 with a degree in biology from Cal State Long Beach, which is a college here in Southern California. I want to first start off by saying I will not be sharing my stats. I know. Boo, lame, tomatoes. Yes, go ahead, throw them at me. But hear me out. One of the main reasons why I won't be sharing like my stats, my grades, my MCAT score, one, it's because I don't want people on the internet, I know my classmates possibly watch my videos. I don't want them to know like my grades or like my MCAT score because I don't want to have to experience like unnecessary pressure. Number two, I also feel like you knowing my stats, like what I got in college, my MCAT score, will not help your application in any way. Just because you get the same grades and the same MCAT score as me does not mean you'll get accepted to medical school. There are people who got lower that are getting in. There are people that got higher that are not getting in. So I feel like you just getting the exact same thing as me will not help you at all. The third reason is I feel like when people share their stats on the internet, it does more harm than it does do any good. I mean, it just opens up the opportunity for people to immediately compare themselves to you and then feel bad about themselves. And I personally pride my page by being a safe space where people can come on here and not feel this need to compare themselves or feel like behind in life or all these like negative feelings that sometimes can be associated when people, share, their stats and their grades and all that. And so I will not be sharing my stats, but if you do want to tell me your stats or your grades or MCAT score and want to know if it's like good enough to apply for medical school, my DMs are always open, so feel free to DM me. But I will share something with you. I did graduate college with honors in biology, and to get honors in biology, you needed to get a GPA of 3.7 or higher, and I got a pretty average MCAT score, so do with what you want with that information. I did a lot of extracurricular activities. I was really involved in school. Honestly, I thank college Aaliyah for being so involved because honestly, I really believe that all the extracurricular activities that I did really allowed me to stand out as an applicant. But basically, I did a lot of extracurricular activities. So I'm gonna try to break it down by one. But I always tell people that if you're applying to medical school, I think everyone should do at least one activity, at least, okay? At least one activity that falls under each of these 4 categories I'm about to share with you. I believe that everyone should have clinical experience, research experience, community service, and of course, hobbies. And then of course, you can, after you do your activities from there, make sure to also do other activities that you like that fall outside that category. And so one of the main reasons why I always tell people to do things, or why I did, activities that fell under each one of these activities, is because I wanted to be a well-rounded applicant. A lot of medical schools are looking for different types of people, and you just never know what they're looking for. Research heavy schools want students who do research, which is why, like, you know, that research comes in. But also there are schools that are very service-based, social justice, community service. So that's why community service, you know, schools will tend to get applicants that, you know, have community service on their applicants. So if you want to get interviews at these two different schools, it's really important that you do things that fall into those categories so that you can be like a well-rounded applicant. And I really believe that because I did activities under these 4 categories are one of the main reasons why I got a lot of interview invites from research heavy schools, but also a lot of interview invites from schools that were really service based and social justice based, because I had a lot of activities that fell under that. Clinical experience that I did when I was in college was that I was in the Cope Health Scholars program, which was basically a volunteer program where I was able to rotate through like different floors in my local hospital and kind of help the nurses and the doctors out. And so like in the clinic, I would take like vital signs, or like on labor delivery, I got to see like babies being born, I got to see C-sections, I got to cut the umbilical cord. I was in this shadowing program where I got to shadow like a resident, and I did that about 2 years. Like the program lasted for 6 months, but because I was close with the doctor that I was shadowing, he allowed me to continue shadowing him until I didn't want to do that anymore. The next thing is research. I wholeheartedly believe that research is really important, and I feel like everyone should have research on their application or some type of research. I was in a reproductive biology research lab, and I did that for 3 years. I didn't enjoy my time in the lab, not because I didn't like my PI. I loved my PI. I loved the other people in my lab. I think I just didn't like the research. I realized that I don't like wet lab research, and I was doing research like wet lab research on the testes of Siberian hamsters and studying retinoic acid signaling in them. And I just didn't like the topic. I didn't like being in lab. The lab was so cold. I was always cold. I was there for long periods of time. I didn't like how I had to run experiments. Like I just didn't like it. And now I do tobacco research. And so now I'm involved in tobacco research, and I'm studying like social media interventions to help teenagers and young adults quit vaping. And I love what I'm doing. So the next thing is hobbies. Why I'm saying that you should have some hobbies is because I think it's important for you to have a life outside school and life outside like medicine. I think it's really important. And so I always tell people, make sure you have hobbies and you put that on your application, because I think you should show, you know, your interviewers and the medical school admissions team that you have a life outside medicine. You have hobbies that you can turn to that can allow you to de-stress during stressful times that you do. And so I think it's just important to have hobbies. And some hobbies that I put down my application, because your girl has a lot of hobbies, but I didn't want to put them on my application, so I only put 2 hobbies. And if you're planning on putting hobbies, make sure you have like maximum 2, just add maximum 2, because you don't want all your extracurriculars to be hobbies. So just maximum 2. And some hobbies that I put down was video production, and I also put down basketball. So I put down like video production, like my YouTube, and like social media, and how I love creating and editing videos. I didn't say specifically that like I'm on social media and that I'm an influencer and I have a YouTube channel, because I personally feel like the people who are reading my application, people that are on the medical school admissions team, are like millennials and whatever that generation is above that. And so I'm pretty sure they're like, what is social media? Also, I feel like sometimes social media has a negative connotation. So I did not put that down, but I put down video production, videography, because I do create videos and I love editing. I love, you know, writing my scripts, and I love sitting in front of the camera and talking to you all. So I talked about that whole process of how I love like creating videos. So I never mentioned like YouTube or social media. I just like talked about how I have a hobby of creating videos. And then for basketball, I've been playing basketball since I was 7 years old. I love basketball, my favorite sport, literally my life. Just kidding, it's not my life, but I love basketball. So I just went ahead and added that to my application. And then of course I had miscellaneous stuff, because I think I had 11 extracurricular activities that I included in my application. And my miscellaneous things that I had on my application, which I put down as either paid employment or leadership. I was a resident assistant, I was a kindergarten teacher. I also talked about the 3 internships that I did. So I talked about the Summer Health Professions Program, Health Career Connections, as well as the CDC Public Health Scholars Training Program. A little bit about my timeline was, once again, I started college in 2016. I'm so old. I'm just kidding. I'm not old, but just talking about 2016, it feels so long ago. Like I started school in 2016. Like 2016 was like the last good summer I had. Like I can't believe it's already 2023. I started school in 2016 and in college, once again, I was just basically focused on getting good grades and once again, building up my resume, building up my extracurriculars activities. So that's all I did. I graduated in 2020. As soon as I graduated was when I began studying for my MCAT. So I studied for my MCAT and I took because I graduated in 2020, I'm entering medical school in 2023. So I took a 3-year gap year. And during that gap year, once again, I studied for my MCAT and then I did my Health Career Connection internship and then I landed my job doing tobacco research, which I am still doing and what I've been doing till this moment. And so after that, I applied for the application cycle of 2022 to 2023. And so with medical school is that you need to apply a year before the time that you're starting to enter. So for example, the application cycle just opened for you to enter in 2024, okay? And so I applied for the application cycle of 2022 to 2023. I got my first interview invite in July. Wait, I submitted my application in June, and then I got my first interview invite in July, and then I got my last interview invite in February. Fun fact, my first interview was Pittsburgh. Like honestly, looking back now, I felt like it was meant to be. It was meant to be, but they were my first interview invites, which is ironic. And I got my last one in February. And then I think I got my first acceptance October 15th. I believe October 15th was when medical schools were allowed to start accepting people. So I got my first acceptance October 17th because I believe October 15th landed on a Saturday. So I got the call that I got accepted at 7 a.m. on my way to Disneyland. It was just so cute. I was like having such a happy day and I was like, oh my God, like I never have to take the MCAT ever again because I hated the MCAT. Let me just give a breakdown before I get into the details of like why I applied to 40 schools. But I applied to 40 medical schools. I got 10 interview invites. I got 7 acceptances, 3 wait lists, and then I got 3 scholarship offers. So I got 0 post-interview rejections. One of the main reasons why I applied to 40 schools is because I'm from California and California has so many medical schools. I believe we have like 16 medical schools and 3 of them are DOs. So I did not apply to any DO programs. One of the main reasons why I didn't apply to DO programs was because I was lazy and I just didn't want to do the application. I was in the free assistance program, which allowed me to apply to like 20. I know a lot of people are like, oh, you should apply to 20 to 25, but how am I supposed to apply to 20 to 25 when the schools just in my state, there's like 13, and there was a lot of schools like outside of California that I really, really wanted to apply to because throughout the application cycle and as I continue on, one of my main themes of this video is I didn't want to have no regrets and I really wanted to apply to schools like in the East Coast. So I was like, I'm gonna have to apply, open things up and I'm gonna have to apply to 40 schools. So basically what I did, and it's so funny and it's like so easy, you're gonna hear it and be like, oh my God, I should just do that. Make your life simple, not harder. Work smarter, not harder. I just went on US Best News. I typed it on Google, medical school ranking, US Best News. The ranking from like 2022 or maybe 2023, I don't know what that year was, came up and they had the list of 1 to like 100. And then from each category, so from 1 to 30, I would choose 15 schools. From 30 to 60, I would choose 15 schools. From 60 to whatever, I applied to 40, so I believe like 10 schools. So I applied to 10 schools. And I didn't really apply to a lot of schools from 60 to 100. I think I used a lot of them to go back to 1 to 15 because California, I love you, California. Like California, we are killing it out here. California has a lot of schools in the 1 to 30 range and the 30 to 60 that like, I was like, okay, I might have to circle back and need to choose some more because you're taking up all my 15. And I want to apply to some schools like in the East Coast. And so that's basically how I made my school list. When I was creating my school list, I was extremely delusional, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Please be delusional. When I made my school list, I was extremely delusional to the point that one of my acquaintances, when they were looking over my school list, they were like, oh, you're applying to so many top schools. Like, you need to be realistic. Yeah, but guess what? Those top schools gave me an interview invite, and now I'm going to one. So what now? Imagine if I didn't apply to Pittsburgh. I literally would not be going to medical school with a scholarship. When I created my school list, I did not look at the stats. I didn't look at MCAT score because I already knew. I was like, there's no point of looking at that because I most likely will not probably fall into what the MCAT score the students have. I'm not gonna fall into that. GPA, I did fall into it, but I was like, so I skipped all that and never looked at all the schools. Like I told you, I was delusional. Okay, I only made my school list based off, was it in an urban environment? Number 2, do the students get financial aid? So I would look at like, is it merit, all that. And number 3, is the program pass or fail? Number 4, how many people of color, specifically Black people, are at that school? Because I didn't want to be the only Black person at my school. Like, that's weird. I'd feel uncomfortable. So your girl spent $1,025 on my application. Wait, I'm sorry. Actually, not $1,025. I spent $1,035 on my application. Yes, I remember that number because I was like, you know what I can buy with that $1,000? Like, I can buy a lot of stuff. I can buy a lot of food. I can buy a lot of Starbucks. I can go on a vacation. I can go on a trip with that money. Like, that's a lot of money. And I was so mad, but how I justified the price was that it's an investment in my future, and it was the best investment. And so basically, I applied to 40 schools, and because I was in this free assistance program, which I think everyone should look to see if they qualify, that aamc has something called a free assistance program for people who are low income or who falls below a certain like income level. And with the free assistance program, you get a discounted price on your MCAT, you get MSTAR, which I was telling you all about, that whole school list with the GPA and the requirements are. You get that for free, and you get to apply to 20 medical schools for free. And when you're applying, like when you get your secondaries, you're able to get your secondary waves. Like I think I only paid for maybe 2 secondaries. I'm glad that these questions I can put together. So I believe, basically, since we're just talking about why I chose Pitt, I feel like we need to start from the beginning. My 11th grade of high school, I wanted to leave California so bad. I wanted to apply to schools in the East Coast. I am obsessed with Gossip Girl. You all know me. My favorite show in the whole wide world is what? Gossip Girl. I love that show. I would watch that show so many times. I even watched the Gossip Girl reboot, even though it's so terrible. I just love watching Gossip Girl. I love watching Christmas movies and all those Christmas movies. Guess where it takes place? In the East Coast. So like I knew I wanted to go to the East Coast. I was not allowed to apply to any schools outside, not only outside of California, I could only apply to schools in SoCal. Like my parents were like, no, you're gonna get homesick. And obviously like I'm 16, and like any 16-year-old, like what do you do? Like I'm a good person. Well, I'm a good person, but like I was just very obedient. So I just listened to my parents. And so I didn't get to apply to schools like outside of California, outside of SoCal. And so I always told myself, okay, when I apply for grad school, I'm gonna be an adult. My parents can't control me. I'm gonna be out of the house. Like I'm gonna, you know, shoot my shot, and I'm gonna apply to schools in the East Coast for grad school, medical school. I'm gonna apply to school in the East Coast. I'm getting out. And so I have always wanted to kind of move outside of, you know, Southern California specifically, because I went to college out here. And so I had the opportunity to experience life like in Los Angeles because I'm from Los Angeles, but also because I went to college in Orange County, I got to experience life in Orange County. And personally me, I have been pretty bored of, you know, Southern California, specifically just California in general. I've done everything, and I'm a city girl, so I really wanted to be in an urban environment. And if you're from like California, you would know that Los Angeles isn't really a like SoCal specifically. I would say the only place that has some type of like East Coast vibe, city vibe, would be Northern California, specifically San Francisco. But Los Angeles, SoCal specifically, is just a bunch of suburban, you know, neighborhoods put in together, and the only true city is really downtown Los Angeles. But everyone knows you don't be staying like downtown Los Angeles isn't like a place to visit. It's not really like, you don't want to be caught in downtown Los Angeles. Like it's so dangerous. And so I've been wanting to leave. So when I applied, you know, for medical school, of course, you know, my mentors advised me, and they're like, Leah, you have to apply to schools in California because California schools will always be cheaper than applying to out-of-state schools. And my goals were what? I wanted to save money. Remember that as I continue on the story, okay? My goal has been to save money, okay? The college I went to, I went there because I had a full scholarship and I was trying to what? Save money. I go where the money is, and I'll get into details of that later, okay? So remember that. Where I'm always going, where the money is. And so I obviously applied to all my California schools, but in the back of my mind, I knew that I was going to be leaving SoCal, like no matter what. Like the only place I would really want to go to would probably be Northern California, but I knew like, okay, Aaliyah, like you're gone. So in February, I got my acceptance from Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh doesn't do rolling admissions. So although I interviewed, I believe August, like the first week of August, I didn't find out until February, like I believe it was like 17th, because they don't do rolling admissions. And so I remember I got accepted. I was like, oh my God, like I got accepted. But I was like, oh, it's like whatever, because I will most likely be staying in California because I already got accepted to like a lot of California schools. So I was like, I'll just stay in California, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I probably won't be leaving, even though I was like kind of like sad that I won't be leaving, but I was like, no, I'm not gonna go to Pittsburgh. Also because Pittsburgh, I just thought Pittsburgh would be just so expensive to go to, especially because during, I went to one of their financial aid like workshops, and I was seeing the prices, and I was like, ooh, okay, Leah, like, I might not have to like go to out-of-state schools. I might have to just stay like in California. And so I was like, okay, like I got in, whatever, right? And, my, what do you call it? My boyfriend, Sam, was just like, are you gonna visit Pittsburgh? And I was like, no, I'm just gonna go to California. He's like, if I were you, I'll go visit Pittsburgh. And I was like, why? He's like, one, it's a top school. Two, what if they give you like a full scholarship? And I was like, no way. Like, there's no way. I was like, Sam, really? And he's like, yeah, go check it out. And I was like, but the flights are so expensive. And he was like, why don't you make like a trip out of it? And it was during the time that like my job was on spring break. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a trip out of it. I'm going to fly to New York, visit my family in the East Coast, visit my friends in the East Coast, and then have my uncle drive me down to Pittsburgh. And then I'll just check out the school. So I was like, okay, whatever. Let me just go check it out. Driving down there, in the back of my mind, I'm like, there's no way, like, I'm coming here. There's just no way. I like don't even know how Pittsburgh looks like. I don't even know what it has to offer. Like, there's just no way, like, you can change my mind. Well, I was wrong. I literally remember. So we drove into Pittsburgh. I got there the night before my second look date. It was dark. My hotel was in this like residential area. So I was like, oh my God, like definitely like not going here. Like this is like in the middle of nowhere. Like I don't even know where we're at. Like it's not a city. I'm like, I wanted to be in a city. Like, no, I'm not going here. It turned out that my hotel wasn't even in Pittsburgh. Like my hotel was in like the city next to it. So we like drove in. And I just remember like the bridges, it looked like a mini Manhattan. We're going through the bridges. It was so beautiful. It was like a city. And because Pittsburgh, there's like 3 different schools in that area. You have Carnegie Mellon, you have Pittsburgh, and there's this other school. There were so many students just walking around, and like the streets just looked really busy, and it looked very young. Like I am from LA, and once again, LA, it's a lot of just driving. So you don't really get to see people the way that when you're walking, right? And because I'm from like the valley, like the Los Angeles Valley, it's a lot of like families here. And so like, I'm just, not to be mean, like my area is just a bunch of like old people, which is, I was like, oh my God, which is why I wanted to be in a city, because cities tend to be more lively. There tend to be more young people out in the city. And so I was like, oh my God, there were so many young people. It was just so beautiful. I loved it. But I was like, you know what? Still like not going here, because once again, I got accepted to California school. That was also like good and was like an environment that I wanted to be at. So I was like, okay, like what's gonna happen? Literally, like I came into my second look, I didn't even have a pen or a paper. Literally, I brought my purse. The only thing in my purse was my phone, my lip gloss, and my glasses. I was like, I'm here for vibes. Like there's no way you will change my mind. Literally, I'm so lucky that they gave us these little cute Pit Med tote bags, and they had like a pen and a pad, because as soon as the dean started talking about the curriculum, your girl was like taking notes. And then we went on tours, and we got to students, and by the end of the day, I remember one of the girls that I actually met at my second look, who's also going to Pittsburgh. So I'm like, hey, oh my God, I have a friend. We looked at each other. We're literally like this. Because when we're talking, she was still considering another, like, she had other options. And she's like, I don't know if I'm going to go here. And then she's like, what about you? I was like, girl, I don't know if I'm going to go here. But literally, that's what we said in the beginning. And then we looked at each other at the end, and she's like, what are your thoughts? I was like, girl, I am sold. She's like, I am sold. I was like, this school, like, it has a lot to offer. And it was like you I was like, it has a lot to offer. It was like really strong. It was a strong program. And I would definitely say the thing that sold me the most, like when I left that second look, what I liked the most about the new curriculum was I really liked how they had like PBL, and they were their new curriculum went from 2 years to 1.5 years, which was similar to the school that I got accepted to in California. And then I really, really loved how they had PBL, and they had something called flex weeks. So we would get weeks off to pursue all our other interests. So we can use it for self-care, so that could be traveling or whatever. We can use it for research, shadowing, but we have weeks off within our preclinical where we don't have any school or grades, classes, nothing. And I was like, that was, for me, was really important, because one thing I learned through the pandemic was that I really want to start valuing my work-life balance. I don't want school to be my whole life. I have so many other hobbies and I want to continue that. And I felt like those flex week would allow me to do that. And so I left it like, wow, like that school was good. The city was good. I also loved that the hospital surrounded the whole medical school, because some of the California SoCal schools I got accepted to, I would have to drive to the hospital. And of course, I mentioned earlier, I don't like driving. I hate LA traffic. So I also wanted to be in an area where public transportation was going to be a big thing. And so they had like public transportation was really big there. People barely drive, but you know, I'm taking my car. And so I really liked that. So I remember leaving my second look and I texted my boyfriend. I was like, Sam, I really, 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 really like this school. Like, I might go here depending on what my financial aid is, because the other school I was considering on going to, it is in a really high cost of living area, and my financial aid, like, it was like, the area is just so expensive that literally I was probably graduating with probably still $150,000 in debt, even though the scholarship they gave me like left, I want to say about like, let's say $10,000 left in my tuition. But because it's in a high cost of living area, it's in one of the most, literally like the most expensive place like in the nation, like I would have a lot of, you know, loans and debt, and that honestly, like, I would probably be struggling, you know what I mean? And so I was like, oh my God, right? But then I was like, also, it felt like I would still be graduating with the same amount of debt. I thought, right? The same amount of debt at Pittsburgh. So I was like, which one? Do I go to California or do I do Pittsburgh? And obviously I'm just gonna go to California, because what's the point if I'm gonna be like graduating debt? Maybe I should just go to the one like that's in California, right? And just like, you know, deal with it. And so I got back home and I did like a fast prayer. And what I mean by fast prayer was that I fasted from sunrise to sundown. And then I would pray, and I just prayed like, God, like, I'm really conflicted on what school to go to. Like, please just kind of guide me on what school I should go to, right? And literally, like, I was doing my fast prayer, right? And that's when the same time where I started getting financial aid packages. So I started eliminating some out-of-state schools, because some of my financial aid package was disrespectful. So I eliminated like some like out-of-state schools. I was like, what? Bye. Like $5,000? What am I supposed to do with that? Like $5,000 for what? $100,000 school? Come on. Be real right now, really? And so I got eliminated my out-of-state schools. One of my California schools, I didn't get my financial aid package, but I got a full, like I got a tuition scholarship from them, and they also gave me like $20,000 extra. But the problem with that tuition scholarship was that was it a tuition or a full ride? I think it was I think it might have been a full ride. I'm sorry. Not me knowing what my scholarship packages are. Okay, they gave me a full ride plus 20K. So they gave me a full scholarship plus 20K. But the problem with that full scholarship was that it was a service-based one. So it means that like they give it to me and they pay for my schooling, but I have to come back and work there for 5 years. And like I said, I don't like being limited. I hate being limited. And I changed my mind. Like, I'm such an indecisive person. Like, I'm such a Virgo. Like, I'm so indecisive that, like, I literally change my mind every 2 seconds. So, like, for example, when I started this application cycle, I was probably like, oh my God, I'm staying in California, right? But by the end of it, I would change my mind. I was like, actually, I'm leaving. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know the decisions that I will make. And so the promise of having to come back and serve a place for 5 years, I was like, I don't know if I want to make that promise. Like, what if I do a residency in the East Coast and I fall in love with the East Coast, or I fall in love with that residency program, or I have this opportunity to do something amazing at this residency program, but now I'm forced to come back and leave that job opportunity and work here? Or what if this other job that's in like Alaska is, you know, giving me like a huge sign-in bonus, and I want to go there, but I can't because I have to come back and serve for 5 years. And one thing about me is I don't like serving. Like, I'm not in the military. Like, if I wanted to serve, I would have joined the military, but I didn't do that because I didn't want to serve. So I I eliminated that school. Okay. So I was like, okay, sorry, I love you, but you're gone, okay? And so I continued to do my fast prayer. And then the next day, I just had this I woke up and I just started crying because I was like, I'm so annoyed. I called my sister. I was like, I'm so annoyed. She's like, why are you crying? I'm like, I'm so annoyed because I don't like that I don't know where I'm going. And my sister was like, okay. So she's like, first of all, you should be thankful that you have so many options. And I was like, okay, I am thankful. But for me, because I have like anxiety and I'm such an indecisive person, sometimes having so many options can be very overwhelming for me. And I just want someone to make a decision for me, right? Like, my parents made my decision for college. Like, I had a full scholarship. So I was like, okay, I'm going to college. Like, I'm going to college in Long Beach, right? It was an easy decision. But here it's kind of like, I don't know what to do. And my sister said something like, okay, close your eyes. And at the end of the day, what school name do you want on your diploma when you graduate? And I was like, girl, I want the school that's free on my diploma. The school that's free or cheap, and both these schools are really expensive. So you're not helping me. And so I remember crying. So I prayed and I was like, God, please, like, I really don't like that I don't know yet. I want to it's April. People are going vacation. People are living their best life. People already know what they're doing. People are making plans for apartments. People are making plans, and I still don't know where I want to go. Like, I don't like it. And so, I prayed and I was like, you know what? I'm going to choose the California school. I'm choosing the California school. Even though it's going to be very, 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 very expensive for me, I'm just going to go there and I'm going to pray that Joe Biden forgives the loans I'm getting. Something happens. I'm going to pray on it and then just hope that it works out, right? And 2 hours later, I get an email from Pittsburgh with my scholarship. And I was like, oh my God, is this a sign to go to Pittsburgh? And then I tried to use that scholarship to leverage with the other school in California, because I was like, oh, if we leverage. And they weren't really budging. And I was like, you know what? I know you're a great school, but at what cost? Pittsburgh's also a top school. At what cost is the difference? Like, at what point is there's a difference, right? If you're both top 20 schools, what is the ultimate point, right? You're both top 20 schools. You both have a great school name. I feel like both of you will prepare me for residency, and I feel like both of the school names could take me far. If that's if I was thinking that mindset, it can take me far. So at what cost is there a difference? And I talked to my job, and I talked to Sam, and they're like, yeah, if I had these both, top 20 medical schools, I would just go to the one that's cheaper. And I was like, okay. So they kind of pissed me off too, because I also wasn't really feeling wanted by them. I was like, really? You're not going to even budge? Okay, I wasn't feeling wanted. So I was like, it really broke my heart because I really, really wanted to go there. But I also, some of the reasons on why I really wanted to go there, they really weren't valid, because I realized that the stuff that I wanted to do there, I'm still able to do it at Pittsburgh. And the connections I made there, I will have even when I'm at Pittsburgh. So I was kind of like, okay, I could let it go. It was hard for me. And yes, did I cry? Yes, I did cry. It was hard for me, but I let it go, right? But then, right, so I'm like, I'm going to Pittsburgh. Okay, Pittsburgh. But then one of my SoCal schools, another school I got accepted to, they came and they gave me a tuition scholarship. And I was like, hold up. So I was like, they gave me a tuition scholarship, but I felt like Pittsburgh was still I felt like Pittsburgh had a stronger program than them. That school, they didn't have something that I felt like their school curriculum didn't really match my learning style. And so I was like, but they gave me a scholarship. So I was like, okay, I really wanted to be in an urban environment. This is in SoCal, but I have a tuition scholarship. It would be cheaper for me to stay in California. because also like, you know, Pittsburgh gave me that like tuition scholarship, but still like it would still be cheaper to be in California, right? Because like I know the grocery stores in California, I know where I can get cheap food places here, like everything I know is like here, right? Like I can easily go back home. So maybe I would just have to bite my tongue, even though I wanted to be in a city environment. Maybe I'll just try for residency and then stay here. And so I did my pros and cons list, and like Pittsburgh just kept winning, okay? Because for example, like that school, a lot of their students only match to California, which is really great. But then Pittsburgh has students matching like all over, like California, other places in the East Coast. They have it like all over. And I don't know if I really wanted to be limited to just California. Like once again, like I don't like feeling limited, okay? And so I emailed Pittsburgh and I was like, hey, I really want to go here. Can you exceed this? And Pittsburgh exceeded it. And so I was like, okay, I made my decision, and then I decided to go to Pittsburgh. And so one of the main reasons on why I chose Pittsburgh was honestly because of money, but also I felt like the opportunities at Pittsburgh were endless. I felt like I could be all that I wanted to be. I like research. Pittsburgh is like #2 in NIH funding. I like community service. I'm able to do that at Pittsburgh. Your pros and cons list can be like whatever you want, but if you need help on some topics to think about, what I did was that first I would add like program. Does the program, like a pros and cons, right? I would do a section program. Does the program match my learning style? Do I fit into the program? Is it pass or fail? Do I feel like the opportunity there are endless, right? So I did program, and then I did financial aid, and then I did another section with like social support, and then I did community, and then of course I did location. And so those are things that you can do. And I also want to remind you that sometimes for your pros and cons list, if a school has all these cons but one pro, and that pro outweighs all the other cons, it's okay. Like you don't have to be like, oh, this school has 20 pros, but this other school has 10 pros, so I need to go to the one that's 20. You basically just, you are the one who got accepted, so you, in the end, now you have the power, right? The school have the power to accept you. Now you're the one with the power to choose whether you want to go there. And for me, two things that I looked at a lot throughout my cycle, and these are the things that I personally valued, and I have friends that value something else. Like I personally was valuing money and program fit, but I have other friends that were valuing like location, being close to their family, or I had other friends that were valuing like school name, like they wanted to go to a school name, and that would outweigh the financial cost. But for me, I always like money and program were the same, because once again, I don't like being in what? I don't like being in what? I don't like being in debt. I don't like owing people money. I hate it so much. So I knew that I was gonna go to the school that was minimal or low debt. Like I literally told everyone, people were like, what are your dream schools? I literally was telling people my dream school is free. Whatever school is free, I'm going there. No questions asked. Luckily, I feel like I got lucky that the school that ended up being, free for me also had a great program. And so I was like, okay, yeah, like now I get to go there. And so basically, that's a good starting point for when you're making your school list. Go ahead and look at like, you can start with like program fit, financial, location, community, social support, okay? You guys can go ahead and look at that. Right at this moment, it hasn't hit me that I'm actually moving and I'm leaving my family. Also, I don't know, guys, like I'm just going for school. I think oftentimes we make it seem like we are going to war. Like I'm not going to war and never coming back. Or maybe I am going to war for my mind. But basically, I'm okay. I'm fine. I have been independent since I was like young. I went to college like 50 minutes with no traffic away from my house, and 1 hour and 30 minutes to 2 hours away from my house with traffic. And with LA, there's always traffic. So it's always like 2 hours away. And because I don't like driving, and I don't like driving in traffic, I was always at school. So I've always been like away, like even over the summer. Like over the summer I was always at internships, and my internships I would live at the dorms and stuff. So I was never really like at home. I would only go back home for like holidays, so like winter break, Thanksgiving break, spring break, and then summer. But even in summer, like I'd be at my internship, so I wouldn't really be at home. I'd only be at home for like 2 days. So I was never really like at home. And so my family, like I learned to get a lot of social support from my family through like virtual, like through FaceTime, Zoom session. And I noticed that that social support is enough for me, which is one of the main reasons why when I was making my decision, a lot of people are like, oh, I have to be close to their family. Like for me, I was like, oh, like I don't really have to be close to my family because my family, like the social support I get from them through the phone is kind of enough. Like if I'm sad and I'm going through a hard time, just being able to call them and FaceTime them, like it will uplift me. Like I don't need them to be physically like there. Number two, I have a lot of family in the East Coast. Like I am bi-coastal. Wait, bi-coastal means you live both in the West Coast and East Coast. So wait, so I wasn't bi-coastal, but now I am bi-coastal because my house is in LA, but I'm moving to the East Coast, so I am bi-coastal. Oh my God, I can't wait to tell people I'm bi-coastal, but I have a lot of family in the East Coast. I have probably more family in the East Coast than I do here in the West Coast, but I have a lot of family in the East Coast. I have probably like over 30 people that are in Washington, D.C. alone. I have an aunt in New York. I have my aunt and uncle in Maryland. I have my uncle in Delaware. I have friends in the East Coast. My close friends live in New York, New Jersey, Boston, Washington, D.C. And I'm hoping that hopefully I'll be able to make friends, and like friends will be like that social support that I have because we're going through the same thing. And so right now I'm not that scared about leaving home. But we'll see what happens, right? And I have you guys, like you guys are coming with me. Like you guys are my emotional support. So like we'll see what happens when I actually move there and how I feel. I'm actually not scared. I'm actually really excited to start school. I know I sound crazy. I don't know why I'm not scared yet. Like I literally start school like in 3 weeks, but it has not really hit me that I'm like going to medical school. It feels like I'm just going to college again, or I'm like starting my like 5th year in college or something. But I know for a fact it probably will hit me with my first lecture. So maybe that's when I'll get scared. I don't know. But right now I'm not really scared. I'm really excited. I think another reason why I'm so excited is because I went through so many challenges just to get to this point. There were times where I felt like I would not even get accepted to medical school. I would ask myself like, is this dream even real? I'll cry to myself, right? And so because I worked so hard to be like at this point, and I already went through so much anxiety and stress, like, oh my God, I'm scared, I won't get in, I'm getting. Now that I'm finally I just feel so grateful and thankful. Like I really feel like I'm living in my dreams. Like when I think about the fact that I'm starting school in 3 weeks, I get so excited and I'm like, I can't believe like I'm going to medical school. I'm so excited. I'm like, it's really happening. Like I'm doing it. Like I feel like I made it. Like obviously I have to finish school to actually be a doctor, but it really feels like I made it because all I was thinking about was just trying to get into medical school since I literally was 7 years old. I was like, I just want to get into medical school. I just want to get medical school. And I finally did. It feels like I made it. And that's honestly how I feel right now. So right now I'm like so excited, but we'll see how I feel the day before school or when I move. I think the first thing that comes to my mind with this question is I'm just so excited to finally start learning about the things that I actually care about. In undergrad, in college, I was just learning a bunch of things that honestly I was not interested in. I was like, what's the point of learning this? How is this important to my career? But now that I'm actually starting medical school, everything that I'm going to be learning is going to be influential and will impact my future patients and will help my career and is essential for my career. And so I'm really excited to finally start learning about the topics that I care about. I think I'm also excited to meet new people. I think because I'm going to the East Coast, I'm going to be exposed to a whole variety of people, so many different people from so many different backgrounds, from so many different places. For my college, because I went to a Cal State, a lot of the students that were in my school were from California. So like, they were just California people. So now that I'm going to the East Coast, there are gonna be people from California, people probably from the Midwest, people from the East Coast, people from like out of the country coming to the school, and I'm just so excited to meet them and learn more about their culture, learn more about their background. And so I'm excited to meet them. I'm excited to make friends. Another thing that I'm excited about would be honestly to see what Pittsburgh is all about. Like I'm really excited to immerse myself in being a Pittsburghian. How do you call someone who lives in Pittsburgh? Because like Californian, you're a Californian, but what do you call someone who's from Pittsburgh? They said Pittsburghers. Oh, I'm excited to be a Pittsburgher. Can I just say Pittsburghian? Because I feel like that sounds better than Pittsburgher. Okay, we're gonna say Pittsburghian. I'm excited to be a Pittsburghian, and I'm really going to immerse myself in life as a Pittsburghian. So I'm gonna go to all that football game. I know sports is really big there. I'm gonna go to the sports game. I'm gonna immerse myself. I'm gonna explore the downtown area. I'm gonna do all the hobbies that people in Pittsburgh do, like Pittsburghians, whatever they do, I'm gonna do all that. I'm really gonna immerse myself in being in Pittsburgh and life in Pittsburgh. Like, I'm really excited about that. I've already started making a bucket list of all the things that I want to check off my list the next 4 years of living in Pittsburgh. So that's like how serious I am. So I'm really excited to explore the city. Another thing I'm really excited about, which is really weird, is that I'm excited to see snow for the first time. I have never seen snow in my life, and I'm excited to see Christmas in Pittsburgh because I feel like snow and Christmas would be really fun there with like the lights. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Oh my god, guys. You guys know me. Christmas is my favorite. After my birthday, Christmas is my favorite holiday. The snow. I feel like Christmas in Pittsburgh would be beautiful. Hold up, I'm gonna look it up because I really feel like with the snow and everything, like it will be. I'm nervous about the rain. Like, I do listen to the rain to help me fall asleep. So I do find the rain peaceful, but I'm like, will I also get seasonal depression? Like, I don't know if I'm gonna get seasonal depression. So I'm really scared about that. I would say another thing that I'm scared about will be that I will study a lot, but for some reason I won't perform well on my exams. But my school is pass or fail, which is good, but I'm scared that I won't get that pass. And for me, I am disciplined enough to sit down and study. Like, I can sit down and study for long periods of time. Like, I can force myself to do that. I'm not scared about that. I just don't like when I sit down and I discipline myself to study a lot and then my scores are not reflecting what I'm studying. And so I'm really scared that might happen. So my fingers are, I'm like really praying that that won't happen. But I'm mostly scared about the weather. But what I'm doing to kind of like help me is just already accepting it. Like, I'm already accepting that the weather is not going to be like California. The weather is not going to be like, you know, the sun might always be out. It'll be raining. The weather might be depressing, but I'm going to make sure that I still get outside. I still go to the gym. I still do a lot of my indoor hobbies. When the sun's out or when the rain stops, I still go on my walks. I decorate my room in a way that is like bright and lively so that when those things are happening, I'm not really getting depressed because my space is such a bright and happy place. So I'm gonna start doing that. So I've already accepted it and now I'm just planning towards it. And of course, I'm getting myself that sad lamp. I'm definitely getting myself that sad lamp. So I have not been doing anything because everyone always advises you to just enjoy your summer. There's not really a way that you can prepare for medical school. There's not really a thing you can do, but something that I have been doing to help me prep for medical school is just identifying my priorities and my non-negotiables for the semester. And what I mean by that is that I've been making a list and kind of brainstorming ideas of like 4 non-negotiables, like 4 things that I'm gonna make sure I continue to do while in medical school. Because sometimes in medical school, if you don't have medical school, life in general, medicine, just anything, they sometimes, you know, school can end up being your life. And that was me in college. School was all my life. And although I got really good grades in college and I performed really well, my mental health was really bad. My work-life balance was really bad. I didn't really feel like I lived in college. And so I feel like going to medical school, this is my second opportunity to actually live. And so I'm definitely going to make sure I have non-negotiables. So things I want to continue doing even in medical school. So one is I love social media. So I want to continue to do my videos and creating videos. And I'm going to make sure I continue to do that in medical school. I love exploring. So I started a bucket list. And I want to try to do one thing off the bucket list every single week. I've just been prepping different non-negotiables I have because one thing about the field of medicine is that if you don't identify your priorities, they will identify it for you. So I'm gonna make sure I identify what my priorities are before someone tries to do it for me. At the end of the video, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe. I really hope you found this video really helpful. I wanna do more Q&A, so I'm gonna probably plan to do a Q&A once a month, kind of so you guys can ask me questions, we can connect, we can talk more. But yeah, I'm so excited to embark on this new journey and take you guys along with me. So I'll see you guys next video. Bye.